Okay. So this worksheet, how many of you actually did your homework this weekend? Hey, good job, guys. You get bonus points. It was 1 through 7 and then 11 through 14. So I would like you to correct it in a marker. So if you didn't do your homework this weekend, you should only be writing on it in a marker. Okay, what do we do when it's like a reset? What do we do when we're absent? We check the tray. This happens to be right here. All right, so remember, you find the biggest perfect square that goes into this, and we made those cards together. So what's the biggest perfect square that goes into 150? What? 25? Okay, 25 times what? 25 times 6, is that what you're saying? All right, and what's the square root of 25? So it's 5 root 6. Did anybody get that one right? If I see any of you on your cell phones, I'm going to take them up for the entire day. Just go ahead and know it right now. We have too much to do for you to be wasting my time. Congratulations on those that got it right. Good job. Number 2, what's the biggest perfect square that goes into 20? 4. So that's 4 times what? And so that's 2 root 5. Who got that one right? Yay! Great job. I'm sorry? Because the square root of 4 is 2. All right, number 3. What's the biggest perfect square that goes into 48? 16 times what? And that gives you 4 root 3. How many of us got that one right? Hey, good job. Makes me feel good about the fact that I've been teaching you this twice now. It is not right if it's flipped. All right, so for number 4, what do you have to do first? Multiply what times what? 6 times 20. Let me zoom in because that's tiny. Is that better, my blind children? Okay. All right, so you do 6 times 20 and you get what? All right, and what's the biggest perfect square that goes into 120? What did you just say? I have it on the board, and 12 is not a perfect square. Is 8 a perfect square? Then we wouldn't use that. Oh, y'all are about to make me lose hope in humanity. Somebody divide.
I already did that.
81.
Oh, okay, do 120 divided by 81 and tell me what you get. Okay, do 120 divided by 60. Let's not just yell stuff out. Let's actually divide. I'm not asking you to cure cancer here. I'm just asking you to divide. 4 is the biggest one that goes into there?
No, it's...
It could be. I just want you to prove it to me.
I think it is.
It is?
I think, yeah.
So you got 4 and what? 4 and 30. And there's not a perfect square that goes into 30. So that gives you 2 root 30. I'm going to go with no one got that one right since you guys. Then why were you not answering me? They started calling. That's because they weren't. I'm being Elsa. Alright, is 121 a perfect square? It is. What's the square root of 121?
11.
So what are you going to do with that 11 and 7?
11. Wait.
You're going to multiply and you get 77. Again, we're quickly losing faith in humanity. Let's get it together. Alright, on number 6, does anybody remember what we do if we have a 3 there? It's a perfect cube. And is 27 a perfect cube?
No.
It is. So your answer is 3. Did anybody get that one right? Hey, one person. That's exciting. It's a cubed root. 27 is a perfect cube, so it's 3 of the same number. They give you 27, and that's 3. All right, on number 7, that's where we start to fraction. So who remembers the first thing we have to do with fractions that we did here? What did I want you to do first? What did we do first here?
GC.
We simplified. We reduced. Everybody write reduce above their notes right here. Now, is there any number that goes into both 9 and 64?
No.
No, so we can't reduce that. So then, what did we do after we got it into simplest form? What did we do right here? No, what did we do right here? We went from this to this. What did we do?
Moved it. Split. Our tables only can tail and three, so 9.
I appreciate that. You break apart the radicals. Write that in your notes. You guys do know this stuff's on your exam, right? And our exam's next week. Like, we're not done with school. I know everybody's ready to be, but we're still not done. We won't actually be done with lessons until Friday.
Next week is our last weekend. Right, sorry.
Alright, so what do I need to do here?
Split apart the radicals.
Look at you go. So that's the square root of 9 divided by the square root of 64. Are 9 and 64 both perfect squares? Yes, so you just take the square root. What's the square root of 9? What's the square root of 64? Boom, that's all you have to do. Break apart the radicals and take the square root. If we could not take the square root, then we would have to rationalize. We'll get to that in just a minute. Get excited. Alright, so you had to do 1 through 7, and then what were the other numbers that you had to do?
11, 12, 13.
Okay, are we ready to look at 11?
Oh, yeah.
Alright, 11. What do we need to do first? Split it. Break apart the radicals, which is going to give us the square root of 9 divided by the square root of 100. Are 9 and 100 both perfect squares? Yes, they are. What's the square root of 9?
3.
What's the square root of 100? So what's our fraction going to be? It's going to be what? 3/10. Okay. Not 3/10, as long as we're saying it right. We don't have our number strips this week. Would y'all like a last week of points?
No. Yeah.
So that we can get points as a grade?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Pass around the sticky notes.
Yeah, pretty much.
What are you talking about? Just throw it at them.
What is that?
That was much nicer than what I wanted you to do. All right. I want you to take a sticky and then pass it. They have stickies. Okay. Just chunk it to bow buttons because they don't have a sticky. Come on. Oh my gosh, this is why we can't have nice things. You can't catch. Come back here. Yes, but we can't catch. That's not what's happening. Y'all have a sticky note. They passed you a sticky note. You don't get a spare one just for funsies.
Why not? You have like a whole.
Good. I need it. No, don't give it to Cameron. Chunk it up here. Or let Jeremiah bring it to me. Do not hand it to Cameron.
Chunk it.
Thank you so much. All right, here we go. On number 12, what do we need to do? Take a point if you said break apart the radicals. The square root of 4 divided by the square root of 25. Are both of those perfect squares? All right, what's the square root of 4? What's the square root of 25? So what's our fraction? Take a point. Now we get to the fun. Are we ready? Pardon? 2/5. Ready? Okay, now, what do we need to do here?
Break it apart.
Break it apart. So that becomes the square root of 20 divided by the square root of 27. Now, this is where we have to rationalize because 27 is not a perfect square, right? It's not on our list. So who remembers how we rationalize? What do we do? What did we do right here? Instead of just yelling stuff, we multiplied by what? The denominator. So to rationalize, you multiply by the denominator. So we are going to multiply, take a point if you answer me. We're going to multiply by the denominator. So what is our denominator? And don't say 27 because it's not square root of 27. So we're going to multiply the top and the bottom by the square root of 27. That gives us 27 here. What's 20 divided by 27? I'm sorry, 20 times 27. I got excited. Say it again.
540.
Okay. 540 or 514? Okay. Alright, is there a perfect square that goes into 540? I would love it if y'all would divide and check. I'll divide while you're dividing. 540. Come here, Mr. Calculator. Let's see. 20 and 27 have 4 and 3 in it, right? 4 and 9. Yeah. And you get 15, right? Alright, so we did 36 and 15. And what is the square root of 36? So it's 6 root 15 divided by 27. Who can tell me what I need to do with these two numbers? Reduce. Take a point. Alright, what goes into both 6 and 27? 3. So it's 2 root 15 divided by 9. Boom. That was a fun one. It's not, because we did this, but we'll go over it again. Good. Alright, next.
It's just a lot of steps.
Well, it's math class. Alright, so on number 14, what do we need to do? Break it apart. So we need to turn it into the square root of 27 divided by the square root of 8. Now, are 27 and 8 perfect squares? Are 27 and 8 perfect squares? No. So we have to rationalize, which means we have to multiply the top and bottom by what? And what's our denominator? The square root of 8. Take a point if you said the square root of 8.
You get 216.
You do get 216. And that gives you the square root of 216 divided by 8. Alright, what's the biggest perfect square that goes into 216? I'm gonna bet 36.
Yes, it's not 36.
It is.
It's 36.
Boom. And you know how I know? Because the biggest perfect square that goes into 27 is 9. The biggest perfect square that goes into 8 is 4. 9 times 4 is 36. That's what goes in there.
Oh, I just tried. I did the answer.
And that gives you 6 root 6 divided by 8.
I did negative.
And that reduces to 3 root 6 divided by 4.
I did 216 divided
I'm sorry?
by 84.
Can we do that every time?
Yeah, every time. Yep. So we're going to come back to the others in a minute. We can do 20 through 25 without me, but we're going to come back. We probably won't have to do all of this worksheet, which is exciting. Does anybody have any questions before we go back to the other worksheets? All right, fantastic. All right, let's look at this guy. Now, number 14, what should we have done first? All right, are 5 and 3 perfect squares? So I have to rationalize, right? What do I multiply the top and bottom by? The square root of 3. All right, and then what's 5 times 3? And then what's 3 times 3? I'm sorry, the square root of 3 times the square root of 3 is 3. It's in the tray. Did anybody get that right when you did this the other night? Okay. Awesome. Now, why did we not reduce before we rationalized? Yes.
For what then?
Alright, I would look through the drawers and see if you find one that says 10 too. Alright, 15. What do we do for 15 first? Break apart the radical. Take a point. And that's the square root of 1 divided by the square root of 6. What do I do now? And what's our denominator? What's our denominator? Square root of 6. So we multiply the top and bottom by the square root of 6. And what's the square root of 1 times the square root of 6? What's the square root of 6 times the square root of 6? Alright, number 16. Any questions on 15? Alright, number 16. What do we need to do with these numbers? Multiply. So what is 6 times 1? I'm going to go ahead and break it apart because I can. So that's going to give me the square root of 6 divided by what? Alright, can I reduce those numbers? What goes into both 6 and 21? Alright. Divide those by 3. And that's going to give me the square root of what? Divided by the square root of what? Okay, do I still need to rationalize? Do I still need to get rid of the radical on the denominator? Yes, because you can't have it there. What do I do? Magic. What? What was that face for, Emily? Do you have a question? Are you sure? Do you understand how I got it? You got it right? But do you understand how I got it? Okay. Okay, I need you to tell me if you do. You don't? Okay. Do you see how I got 2 sevenths? So I divided both of these by 3, and then I have to rationalize by multiplying the top and bottom by the square root of 7. So the square root of 7 times the square root of 7 is 7. The square root of 2 times the square root of 7 is 14. Or the square root of 14.
Alright, you said where you're from. What time you said you're from?
Can that wait until I finish this lesson? Thank you. Yes. Yes.
Oh, it says right there.
Alright, let's look at 17. That's a Q, so hopefully you broke those apart. And then hopefully you multiplied the top and bottom by the square root of 12. And that gave you the square root of 12Q divided by 12. What's the biggest perfect square that goes into 12? So the biggest perfect square that goes into 12 is 4. The square root of 4 is 2, with 3 left over. 2 twelfths reduces to 1/6. Alright, I'm not going to stand up here and go over these anymore because as I do, you sit there and talk. So please go to your notes. Today we're going to learn about conjugates. Ooh, let's do problem C on here as one last review of rationalizing, and then we're going to do conjugates. Alright, so do you guys think that we should reduce this fraction or rationalize first? Reduce? Alright, let's write reduce. What goes into both 45 and 10? And what's 45 divided by 5? And what's 10 divided by 5? Alright, what's the square root of 9? And then there's not a square root of, well, not a whole number. Now, do I still need to rationalize? What do I need to multiply the top and bottom by? the square root of 2. And that gives me 3 root 2 divided by 2. Now, where did the radical go right here? Why did we write 2 instead of the square root of 4? It does, because what is the square root of 4? 2. So that's fine. Alright, are we ready for part 4, conjugates? Now, this is the, well, last thing on simplifying radical expressions. Now remember, I told you that you cannot have a radical in the denominator, correct? So if you have a radical in the denominator, most of the time we would multiply by the radical. But if it has a 5 plus or a minus, you can't do that, so you use the conjugate. Now, the word conjugate means opposite. So if it's the square root of b plus the square root of c, you would multiply it by the opposite. What's the opposite of plus? Magic. Are you ready? Now, what would you multiply a by? How do you think we would get rid of that denominator? Multiply by what? But we have that 5 plus down there. So how could we get rid of that? What is the conjugate of 5 plus the square root of 2? 5 minus the square root of 2. So the opposite means you subtract. So we are going to multiply by 5 minus the square root of 2. Is everybody ready? So multiply the top and the bottom by 5 minus the square root of 2. 5 minus the square root of 2. Because you have to multiply by the conjugate. So the conjugate means opposite. So write opposite right here. And the opposite of plus is negative. Alright, now here, normally you would use what method to multiply two things together like this? Nope. Starts with an F. No, we're multiplying. FOIL. You would use FOIL. But you don't have to do that. You can use this magic trick. Are you guys ready? You would multiply 3 times 5 minus the square root of 2 divided by square both of these. So it's just 5 squared minus the square root of 2 squared. All you have to do is square them because it's the difference of two squares. It's the same thing we did in special products. Bless you. Alright, now how do we get rid of parentheses? Distribute. So you still multiply 3 times 5 and 3 times the square root of 2. What's 3 times 5? Can we multiply 3 and 2 together? No, because it's under the radical. So you write minus 3 times the square root of 2. Alright, what's 5 squared? 25. And the square root of 2 squared is 2. That just makes the radical disappear. So what's 25 minus 2? And you're done. I know. And I'm sure because so many of us are paying such diligent attention that completely blew our minds. Pardon? Right here, because 3 times 5 is 15. Five squared is 25. The square root of 2 squared is 2. So 25 minus 2 is 23. Let's do the next one. Alright, I have to multiply by the conjugate. What is the conjugate of 2 plus the square root of 2? 2 minus square root of 2. So everybody multiply the top and the bottom by 2 minus the square root of 2. Alright, and that's going to give me 3 times 2 minus the square root of 2 divided by 2 squared minus the square root of 2 squared. So that's 3 times 2 minus the square root of 2 divided by 2 squared minus the square root of 2 squared. Isn't it exciting? Alright, how do I get rid of parentheses? What's 3 times 2? And what's 3 times the square root of 2? 3 root 2 divided by, alright, what's 2 squared? What in this, okay, so this turns into 4. What is the square root of 2 squared? And 4 minus 2 is? Ta-da! Yes, I would love for you to try the last one on your own. Take a point for showing initiative.
We already have like 10 points for that.
Look at you go. It's going to bring up some of your grades.
At least not that.
Truth. Work the last one out while you're working it out. Did y'all get, oh, it didn't move over enough. Did y'all get 21 plus 7 times the square root of 7 divided by 2? One person did? Hey, take a point for your team. If at least 2 people got it at your table, take a point for your team.
Where's the point go? I got it. Oh, yo. I got it. You.
I know.
Dang.
I'm listening.
Alright, sorry, I thought you were. Alright, how do you, like, get the answer, though, like, with, with that problem?
Okay, so you multiply the top and bottom by the conjugate, which is the opposite of minus, so that's plus.
Okay.
So you multiply the top and bottom by 3 plus the square root of 7.
Yeah.
Alright, then you multiply 7 times both of these. And then you do 3 squared minus the square root of 7 squared. So 7 times 3 gave us 21. 7 times the square root of 7 gave us 7 root 7. Then 3 squared becomes 9. And the square root of 7 squared becomes 7. So 9 minus 7 is 2. Benign. Alright, let's do another one together so we can make sure we're on the same page. Let's look at 21 on this page. 21. Alright, what is the conjugate of 4 plus the square root of 5? 4 minus the square root of 5. So what am I going to multiply the top and bottom by? 4 minus the square root of 5. 4 minus the square root of 5. Alright, so then that gives us 2 times 4 minus the square root of 5 divided by 4 squared minus the square root of 5 squared. Now we distribute. What's 2 times 4?
8.
Maybe. Can y'all stop cutting each other? Alright, 2 times 4 give us 8. What's 2 times the square root of 5? 2 root 5. Take a point. And what does 4 squared become? Minus what? 5. And what's 16 minus 5? And boom, we're done. Can you guys try 22 without me while I look for him a Band-Aid because they're cutting each other?
We're not cutting each other.
Alright, did you get 3 times 2 plus the square root of 3 divided by, and then multiply the bottom by 2 plus the square root of 3. And then 3 times 2 gave you 6. 3 times the square root of 3 gave you 3 root 3. 2 squared, it's 4. Minus 3 gave you 1, so that's your final answer. Did anybody get that right? Hey, take a point. Good job.
I won't get to see me with my glasses. I'll see you later.
I will see you. We're not leaving each other for forever.
I know, but you're like, dang.
Is that what I'm going to say?
Yeah.
All right, number 23. Let's do it together super quick, and then we're going to talk about homework for tonight and our last part of our lesson.
Like, dang.
Well, last part of lesson, then homework. All right, what do I need to multiply 23 by? What's the conjugate of 7 plus the square root of 7? 7 minus 7. I can't. 7 minus the square root of 7. Take a point, Allah. Alright, so what's 5 times 7?
35.
What's 5 times the square root of 7?
5.
Alright, what's 7 squared?
7 squared is 14.
49. And what's the square root of 7 squared? And what's 49 minus 7?
42.
42. Boom. Look how easy that one was.
Take up point.
So, do you have to do these steps each time? No, you can have a shortcut. It's okay. Alright, una más, and then our next foldable. Alright, so what do we need to multiply 24 by? Take a point. Hey, Ravenclaw, y'all are about to lose all of your points if you don't stop talking. Because we're still having class. I don't care if you're talking about Jesus. We're still having class. Alright, what's 4 times 3? What's 4 times the square root of 2? Alright, what's 3 squared? And, I shouldn't have wrote that. Don't write that. Don't write that. Alright, what's the square root of 2 squared? And what's 9 minus 2?
7.
Alright, I just put this next foldable on your tower. This says operations with radicals. We're going to do the first part. We're going to add and subtract. It is super easy, and then you're going to get your homework. Yes, we are moving fast. We have a lot to do in the short time that we're together. Because tomorrow we're going to work until our little ears bleed. Alright, so operations with radicals. This is going to be page 58A. Now, just to let you guys know, next year in geometry and the year after that in algebra 2, you will do all this again. So I highly suggest that you keep your notebook. Don't just throw it away because you're glad to be done with me. You can throw away your bell ringers, but I would highly suggest you keep your notebook with your notes. I don't know what words you just said. Yeah. Alright, so operations with radicals means that we're going to add and subtract radical expressions. Now, you can only add or subtract when the expressions have the same radicands. So the number under the radical must be the same. Example 1. Does everybody see how they all have the square root of 2? Crazy. So what you would do is you would do 5 plus 7 minus 6. Now, you don't touch what's under the radical. That's going to stay the same as the square root of 2, and you only add and subtract what's on the outside. So what's 5 plus 7? Oh my gosh.
12. And minus 6 will be 6.
He said 5 plus 7 actually will kill 6.
Yeah, because I said I was going to calculate.
Sweet potatoes.
What's your grade mean?
Does everybody see how I got that?
Really? Is that it?
That's all you do. You cannot touch these. You cannot touch the square root of 2 unless you multiply. We're not multiplying here, we're adding and subtracting. So you only combine the coefficients. It's just like variables. Alright, for B, do you see how we have 2 square roots of 3 and then 2 square roots of 5? Do you think that we can combine the square root of 5 and the square root of 3? No, you cannot. You can only combine it if we're multiplying. Are we multiplying here? No, so we don't combine it. But you will, however, combine this one and this one. So what is 15 minus 11?
4.
So it's 4 root 3. And then we're going to combine negative 14 plus 6. And what's negative 14 plus 6? So minus 8 root 5. And that's how you do that. Any questions? Now, on example 2, I forgot what I was writing right there, so just scribble that out because I'm a crazy person. Now, do you notice how neither of these are the same? What you have to do is you have to simplify your radicals. So you have to find the biggest perfect square that goes into both of them and make them the same. So 8 is not a perfect square. For the love of all things good and holy, can we all stop saying 8? What is the biggest perfect square that goes into 18?
16.
6. 6 and 3.
Only
6 and 3.
Neither of those are perfect squares. 16 does not divide into 18.
Oh, I was looking at 32. My bad. Hey.
Hold your breath till you pass out. Alright, what's the square root of 9? And what's 3 times 2? So we have 6 root 2 plus. Now, what's the biggest perfect square that goes into 32? And what's the square root of 16? What's 4 times 2? Now, do we have the same radicand? So you just add 6 and 8 together, and that gives you 14 square root 2. Ta-da! Homework tonight. We're going to do B tomorrow.
B.
So homework tonight is 15 through 19, 8 through 10. Yeah, that sounds good. Now, tomorrow we're going to be in here together from 8:15 to 9:45.
That's a long time.
I'm going to check in.
It's fine, you're still responsible for the work. What?